He knows his stuff. He's not afraid to go at people.
And no player should have that much control over an organization. Well, last time I checked, this is not the Los Angeles LeBron.
How did he get blocked by LeBron James on Twitter?
Talking about, wanting to inspire and like, I'm inspired right now. I want to run through a brick wall for you right now.
Cutthroat. It's very, up and down roller coaster of emotion.
God put me in a position. It's caught. Diggs, sideline, touchdown, unbelievable.
It's always a good time when I get on that Dude 2020 show.
What is up, folks? Welcome to another episode of That One Dude 2020 on the God Everybody Sports Network. Unless you live under a rock and somehow don't know who this segment is, award-winning Kansas City sports radio host Darren Smith. Darren, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. If I was feeling a certain kind of way, I would be trying to figure out why I'm not in the little opening clip, but it's all good.
It's all good.
Glad to be on the show, man.
Definitely great to have you on here again, folks, like we do on every show. We'll start with today's prayer break. Lord, I just thank you again for this opportunity. Darren is such a fine young man, to blessed to know him and have an opportunity. Let this be an opportunity for whoever watches this, or him or myself. Let this make a difference in somebody's life in Jesus' name. Amen. Today's verse, though, folks, I believe we have it here, is in 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another. As we know in the sports world, encourage one another and build each other up, just in fact as you are doing. I think what I've noticed here, folks, is, like I said, we met Darren, a great friend of mine, but it's not guaranteed. Like, when you meet somebody, it could be one interview, and like, you just be professional building each other up. And I think that is especially the important thing. It wasn't guaranteed that you'll probably come back on. You probably think it's just some goofy 22 or 23-year-old. You don't have to come on. But getting to know you, my man, has definitely been a huge blessing. We'll make sure that when people come on, Darren, it's contributing to my career and being a blessing to other people. So it's definitely, I don't take that for granted in any way, shape, or form.
Each one, 2 point is my old adage that I go by. So glad to be of service.
Definitely, man. And we've heard from people, from reporters and others, that how the offseason's been for them. We're going to ask you, this has been a crazy offseason from the Super Bowl to now. How has it been for you, and how have you been able to adjust getting to what we would call back to normal?
Well, I mean, it's been pretty. I mean, I keep myself busy, so it's not, I never really have a downtime. I cover the Chiefs, the Royals, KU basketball, sport in Kansas City. Actually, I got a soccer game in about 5 hours tonight. So, I mean, I'm always busy. Personally, last couple of months I've been on a weight loss kick, so I've lost about 60 pounds. And trying to lose another 75, trying to get down to my old college weight. So, if I can get anywhere near there by the time Super Bowl runs around, I'll be a happy camper. So, but other than that, just regular life, day-to-day stuff.
Definitely, man. That's what I'm going to be working on, is seeing you. If you can do it, I know I definitely can. Aspire to lose some weight, because I know I need to take care. It's important out there, like, take care of your body, and I definitely think that's going to help and support. But for the viewers out there, we did this on the MI6 Sports Network for people that don't watch this, that like somehow maybe not know who you are, like what your story or how you got started. Do it, kind of explain to the fans out there that may not know who you are.
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in Kansas City. Did an internship at a local black station back in '94, covering sports. I was doing an internship with the sports director there. And my first assignment was the Kansas City Chiefs on a Monday Night Football. I can't remember who they played, but that was my first foray into this to the sports world, and took a liking to it and really never looked back. Studied it when I was in college, and and have had different directions in regards to my path to where I'm at now. Currently, I'm at Sports Radio 810, WHB, and ESPN Kansas City here in Kansas City, where, again, as I mentioned before, covering the Chiefs, the Royals, sport in Kansas City. I've gotten a chance to cover one World Series. I was out of town covering the Chiefs game for the one that that the Royals actually won. I've covered 2 Super Bowls featuring the Chiefs, but I've covered 3 Super Bowls total and been on Radio Row 4 times, covered some NCAA championships and big Floyd Mayweather fights and stuff like that, and UFC fights as well. So I cover it all.
Man, to cover a Floyd Mayweather fight, I can't imagine. At least maybe it wasn't the Logan Paul one, of course, because we know how can cause
No. I did the Mayweather McGregor fight. So.
Ooh, what was that like? Because you know how McGregor's this huge trash talker.
Oh, it was crazy. I remember the day before when they had like the weigh in and the whole Cardi B was in Vegas performing in the middle of the ring and stuff like that. It was crazy, man. It was wild. It was a wild time, and then, of course, the fight itself, being what it was, a 10-rounder, was pretty good. I had to leave right after the fight, so I got a couple of questions in the post game, and then had to get to the airport. So, but yeah, I mean, it was great. I was there for about 4 days. Everything turned out well.
Definitely awesome. I mean, you've continued to do great work here. But of course, CDC, you cover the Chiefs. With the 2020 season fastly approaching us, thank God, it just felt like 80 years without football here. Who do you think on or off the field for the Chiefs is like the biggest offseason addition, either in the draft or free agency?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest upgrades have been to the offensive line. I mean, they signed, I believe, 4 or 5 offensive linemen. I know they traded for one in Orlando Brown as a starting left tackle for us. And then, of course, they signed Joe Thuney from the Patriots as a left guard. In the draft, they got Creed Humphreys and they got Trey Smith, and they brought back Lucas Niang, who sat out last season due to COVID. So, I mean, right now, at the moment, looking at their offensive line, they've got Brown, they got Thuney, they got 2 rookies who are on the first team, which is Creed Humphrey, along with Trey Smith and Mike Remmers. Now, if they get Lucas Niang in there, then that means that Kansas City's offensive line is going to be solid for years to come. So,
Hopefully,
that's been the biggest upgrade this offseason.
Exactly. That's the most important thing there. I think people don't realize. And hopefully maybe it doesn't cause too much drama for me as a Broncos fan, or maybe too much drama for the Denver Broncos defense as a whole. But maybe some setbacks though. Carson Wentz, Darren, it's been so week. I don't know, maybe not covered, but you've talked about with people. Do you think Carson Wentz is one of those guys where he's not going to reach his full potential? Because going back to high school, he's dealt with injuries, and now it's basically the same story again.
I mean, you said it's the same story. I mean, when I got a notification from ESPN yesterday that he was injured, I think I got it during my show. Said that he had injured his leg or something, and I said, well, I mean, it's to be expected. So he can't catch a break. I don't know how long he's expected to be out, but with it being like the 3rd day of camp, that's not a good look because he's not going to be able to build any type of rapport with his line and his teammates on the offensive side of football. So it's a shot in the bow for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, I'm not, we don't play him, I think, unless it would be in the playoffs. So I'm not really, that concerned about what happens to him as it relates to, what happens to the team I cover. But it's not, for him, it's another setback. It's something that obviously he wasn't looking forward to. He just has to work his way through it.
You watch athletes, you see athletes practice. What is it about Carson Wentz? Because it seems like he gets to 100%, and then like he plays just for a tiny bit, and then he gets re-injured again. Is there something about that, or what do you see from your perspective, and why does he keep getting injured? Because this goes back all the way to his high school days.
I think he just has bad luck. I mean, I've never been injured in athletic competition, so I can't really say why he just has that type of luck. But it's I don't know. I mean, he's gotten bad luck, but even to that point, he still gets many opportunities. So I mean, they traded enough for him, and they're giving him the opportunity. I think he's going to try to work himself back, and like I said, depending on the severity of the injury, we'll see how long he'll actually be out, and that's going to be telling. I mean, depending on, like I said, depending on how bad the injury is, we'll find out whether or not he makes it back and can. This is just a little bump on the road, during this time here in Indianapolis. So if there's something more to it than meets the eye.
Hopefully, it isn't. Of course, redheads stick together, so you never know what happens there. But based on if it's a severity, or let's say it's not, do you think the Colts season is in jeopardy? Should they panic, or is it like what adults do in tough situations? We just calm down and take it one day at a time.
No, if I remember, I think they still have the quarterback that they got from New England. His name just eludes me right at the moment, but he was a starting quarterback before Wentz came in. So as long as he's on the roster, if he's still on the roster, I think they'll be fine.
They got that second, I think it's second or third rounder, Jacob Eason, and of course Sam Ellinger out of Texas, and we know the unfortunate history of Texas quarterbacks in the NFL. So hopefully he can start. But again, like I've said about Sam, the problem is with their bread and butter at Texas, and I'm a Texas fan, so I'm not going to be too biased here. You can't play from behind. So hopefully he can definitely get that back. But it kind of lessons or putting stuff in behind with the world getting back to normal, whatever you want to call it. What is, I guess you could say, the biggest lesson that you've learned, or things that you're starting to continue to appreciate?
Well, I mean, things have been pretty normal for me. I mean, I wear my mask. I mean, for me, with things kind of getting back to normal, so to speak, but with the Delta variant, I'm not sure if and when things may revert back to the way it was, when COVID first hit. So for me personally, I mean, things have just been pretty much the same. Just this year being able to attend Chief Training Camp compared to last year when the COVID first hit, I think that's just been the biggest difference. But actually, like I said, other than that, everything's been pretty normal for me.
Definitely glad things are opening back up. I know it's different in every state, but what do you see? I gotta ask you that. I don't know if we talked about this last time. Le'Veon Bell, of course, is still a free agent. Was there something that happened in the locker room, or what was the deal? Because he said he didn't want to play for Andy Reid, but then he had a HR PR response on Twitter.
No, I mean, nobody really knows. We did ask Andy, I think, after that Twitter stuff came out, but he just, Andy being the classy guy that he is, just kind of played it off to the left. So we don't really know. I mean, that's pretty much his way of announcing his retirement, because if you take shots at Andy Reid after all he's done in the league, it's kind of hard for anybody to take a chance on you. So I think that's just his way of literally retiring from the NFL, because he wasn't able to contribute when he was here in Kansas City, which, I had high hopes for him, but just didn't work out that way.
Definitely did, but this shows kind of like an ego or an attitude. When you take live shots at coach, let's say, I'm not saying Andy Reid is right or wrong here. I don't know anything. But when you take live shots at a coach or a coordinator on Twitter, because that shows you, if you do that on Twitter, how are you going to handle something in the locker room when it gets tough, when you're behind and not playing well? And I think that kind of speaks to maybe his leadership or non-leadership, or maybe his attitude. And I can understand the Kansas City Chiefs not bringing him back, because you want the right people with the right attitude here, without doubt.
Well, nobody. Well. Let me say, nobody is above reproach. Nobody's above criticism. So I mean, Andy Reid notwithstanding, it's just that. I mean, he said something but didn't say what Andy supposedly said to him. So you kind of leave things out for interpretation. When you do that, it can go either direction, and it didn't go in the direction that favored him. So, I mean, Andy Reid is, he's a big boy. He can take criticism. I mean, and this industry you have to. But at the end of the day, like I said, it was something he probably wishes he could have handled differently, and he'll have to learn a valuable lesson from it.
Definitely, I've learned a lot. Definitely, I've learned a lot of very humbling lessons here. Speaking of this last question too, because I know you have these guys are doing a game tonight. If there's a game you had to pick for the Chiefs this year in the regular season, which one do you think could be that game changer towards come playoff time?
I'm not sure. I guess I would say be hard to say. Maybe Pittsburgh or man, I don't. I really don't know because the Chiefs have an easy second half of the schedule. Their toughest half is the first half, as they face 5 playoff teams in their first 7 games this year. So I really don't have a particular game that I can pinpoint towards the end of the season. I'd be like, okay, they got to win this game to kind of get on the right track. I just think if they win their early big games against the Ravens, against the Bills, against the Browns, against the Reds, Washington football team. There's one other playoff team I can't think of. But if they can win those early games, then it just sets themselves up and separates them from everyone else. Because like I said, in the latter half of the season, they got the Chargers, they got the Raiders, they got the Cincinnati Bengals, they got the Denver Broncos. So I think it gets easy. It gets easy for them after week number 7. So like I said, I really don't have a team that I think that I can pinpoint on the schedule like, oh, this is going to be the turning point.
Even though I'm a Broncos fan, Darren, if Drew Lock is somehow starting, we don't have a chance in way. I think he is not a caliber quarterback. I don't think he can make it in the NFL, much as on the Broncos. It might not seem something with Lock here, because I'm just not. People saying that he could thrive, but then a lot of people are saying, well, I mean, look what he did last year. He couldn't throw the football that far.
I got nothing for you, man. I'm not a big believer in Drew. Like I've said that before. So
You and I
maybe if you get Deshaun Watson, you might have a chance.
Maybe Watson or Rodgers, and I told people this. I'll fly down to Aaron Rodgers' golf course or wherever he is to give him the contract to sign. I'll buy you like maybe one of these or a cockpit or something to get him into Denver. But I think one game for me though, before I let you go, so I know you have a very busy schedule here. Looking at the Cleveland, I'm not saying it's a make it or break it, of course, but I'd be curious now that you have, I believe, Danny Williams or your second year running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'd be curious now that they're not splitting the carries how that offense is going to be, because both teams maybe are going to be run heavy. The Browns, they're not completely the Browns as they were before, but I think there's definitely a lot of pressure on Baker and Landry. And like we know, OBJ was out last year, so I'm not really too sure. Is he going to be a big factor? Hopefully it doesn't go back to 2019, but definitely think that could be interesting to see how the Browns and Chiefs play again. Now, I would say I want the Browns to win because I'm a Broncos fan, so there's no hate against the Chiefs. It's just a fun rivalry here in football. But again, folks, here before we go for today's show, Darren, do you have any shout outs or anything else that you're working on or games or anything of the sorts?
No, not really, man. Just again, I just hit the gym every day trying to lose this weight, man. That's basically it, man. I got a show tomorrow morning on 8:10 on the Ship with Darren Smith from 9 to 11 Central. They can hear it online at 810whb.com. And basically just sitting back enjoying the Olympics and working out every day. So, and Chiefs training camp too. So I go back up Monday to St. Joe to cover the Chiefs. So
definitely gonna be inspiring me to, I guess, work on myself and kind of do that. That's what's important. It's about lifting each other up, and so that's definitely been an inspiration. But Darren, thank you for coming on. And if you hear screams all the way from Kansas City, it's because Drew Lock probably threw another interception, or maybe I need to see maybe Bucky Barnes' therapist, because there's definitely a lot of trauma with Drew Lock. But thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll definitely do this again. Thank you so much, Darren.
All right, take care.
He knows his stuff. He's not afraid to go at people. And
no player should have that much control over an organization. Well, last time I checked, this is not the Los Angeles LeBron.
How did he get blocked by LeBron James on Twitter?
Talking about, wanting to inspire and like, I'm inspired right now. I want to run through a brick wall for you right now.
Cutthroat. It's very, up and down roller coaster of emotion.
God put me in a position.
It's always a good time when I get to get on that Dude 2020's show.